Welcome to Through the Eyes of a Donkey, the story of Jesus' birth told from the perspective of the donkey who carried Mary to Bethlehem. This is a special story for a special young man, for you, Matthew. And it comes to you from your great grandma Wooldridge, who loves you so very much. Well, let's get started. So, hi, Matthew. My name is Olivia, and I'm excited to share a beautiful story with you. The power of God works in and through the lives of all of us. Matthew, do you know who Jesus is? Of course you do. And this story is about how God used a simple little donkey to help Jesus. When I was a baby, my family received a little donkey to help carry me around. His name was Havivi, which means friend or dearly loved in Hebrew. That's a silly name, right, Matthew? Hey, you should see if Miss Pat can say Havivi. He was always by my side, and he watched over me, and he would tickle me with his fuzzy nose on my cheek, making me giggle. He was my best friend, and we had no secrets. And Habibi shared the best stories. It's true. He could talk, just like the donkey in the Bible. You can find that story in the book of Numbers, chapter 22, verse 28. Matthew, someday you have to read that story. It will just remind you how anything is possible with God. Habibi was a special gift from God. One day, my father said that God told him that Habibi must go to our neighbor Joseph. Joseph, his wife Mary, and their unborn child were required to travel to Bethlehem to register for the king. Even though I was heartbroken at the thought that he would no longer be mine, I knew he would never be far from me because he was my best friend. Habibi told me about how he carried Mary on his back. He stepped gently to make sure he did not slip and fall. And he asked God to guide his footsteps and heard God's voice in his ear with words of comfort and wisdom. With each mile, Habibi grew stronger. His confidence soared because, Matthew, he knew God chose him. Now, arriving in Bethlehem, they tried to find their way through the enormous crowd. Habibi was alert and tried not to stumble on the cobblestone streets. Again, he felt God's presence and peace as they moved along their divine path. The day turned to night quickly, and Joseph knew that he had to find a place to rest. Mary would brush Habibi's fur with a mother's touch, and she would gently talk to him along the way, showing her love for him. Joseph couldn't find an inn because they were all full, but finally, an innkeeper took mercy on them and offered them a place in his barn. Because the journey was long, Habibi began to drift off to sleep. Matthew, are you sleepy? Well, don't fall asleep. I have so much more to tell you. You see, there was a gentle breeze, a beautiful scent, and now a sound in the barn. The voice of a baby was such a blessing to the ears. And high in the sky, a star shone bright, like a diamond on that holy night. Now, that night, Matthew, there were shepherds in the field attending to their sheep. The angel of the Lord appeared and told them the great news that their Lord and Savior had been born in Bethlehem, the city of David. And the angel told them to follow the star to the Holy Child. And filled with joy, they began their journey to this holy place to bring honor to the King. The shepherds followed the star and quietly entered the stable. Matthew, you know what happened next? A little shepherd boy knelt beside Jesus, and he began to sing sweetly in his ear. to bring him honor. Habibi felt it his duty to watch over this baby while others entered that night. So with his nose, he squeezed in to be by this precious child. Now, King Herod heard about this precious child, and so he ordered 3 wise men to go and immediately report back to him. But when they saw the star, a great joy filled their hearts. When they arrived in the stable, they bowed down to the King of Kings and the Son of God, and they presented him with frankincense, gold, and myrrh. Oh, Matthew, this Son of God slept by candlelight. His glow warmed the cool night air. As the shepherd boy continued to sing, a small child known as the drummer boy began to keep time. The heavenly music soothed their souls. Matthew, it was late now, and Habibi watched as Mary wrapped Jesus in his blanket, and he marveled at how her touch was so gentle. Mary began to settle in, but turned and looked at her sweet donkey. She got up, walking to Habibi. She threw her arms around his neck and said, "Thank you. You have served God well. I love you." Mary then led Habibi to Jesus and asked him to watch him in the night. Snuggling up to the sweet boy, Habibi watched every breath he took. In the quiet of the night, Habibi began to realize how God had called to him for this divine moment, and that honor filled his heart with joy. Well, Matthew, I hope you've enjoyed this story. Habibi has taught us many things. His words will forever ring in my ears. As I snuggled up against his neck, Habibi said to make Jesus my best friend and ask him into my heart. And remember, Jesus is always near, so never be afraid and always look for God's hope in my life. Matthew, this message is for you, my sweet little friend. But Matthew, this is for Mason and Madison too. Well, may you be blessed and know that you are loved. Your friends, Olivia and Habibi. Well, this story has come to an end. But if you keep looking in the back of the book, there are more fun activities to find hope. I want to thank you so much for being a part of the Hope Journey. And thank you for being a part of Through the Eyes of a Donkey. Merry Christmas, Matthew. And remember, you are loved.